praises, all honor, all glory going to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Karkwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Salutation to you, Akim, that's out there pushing this truth with all honesty and sincerity by way of the highways and byways and the internet. This is your brother Nayab, and I'm back with another news update. Of course, we got like a kind of like historical kind of video in the beginning, and then the rest of it is just news, just all news. So I probably won't be talking on this one all like that as I usually say, but I'm not gonna try to say nothing. So on the first video, I just want to say this so I don't have to say anything. These women are delusional. Okay, nobody has to take care of your kids. All right, so let's get started. And plus, you don't even be a virgin. Like, it's not even worth even being with you, man. Let's go.
Your average Latina in the U.S. I'm a single mom with 3 kids. Here's my requirements to date me. Okay, let's see if I am required to date her. Let's see.
That you need to have in order to date me.
Type shit.
Type
shit. She has 3 kids, by the way. 3 kids. She has 3 kids, by the way. She's not old. She doesn't look old at all, but she has 3 kids. Just so you know. Right.
Is that you need to be making at least $130K a year.
I'm out.
And you need to have at least 2 side hustles.
I only got 1 hustle.
If you cannot make $130K or more, then you are out of my fucking league. How do you expect to give me money for my kids if you only make $50K?
Man, fuck your
Second
kids.
is I don't date men that are younger than me because for obvious reasons. So if you are 26 and over, then you qualify. 26 to 35 is the age limit.
Damn, I just missed out, bruh. Alright, that's fine.
Okay, I feel like 35 is pushing it.
So far, I'm like over 3.
Because they look old as fuck already. Well, I'm 26. I'm a baby. So yeah. You have to have at least 3 cars under your name.
God damn, I got 1. Wait, you know you're over 26? Alright, yo, you good? You got, alright.
Your second car has to have 8 seats because I have 3 kids.
8 seats?
So I want them to be comfortable whenever we go with you on a trip or something. You want me to come with you? I'm gonna bring my kids, and you need to have enough space for my kids. So
yeah,
that's
fuck
why
your kids.
To have an SUV and a vehicle of your own if you're gonna be dating me. Another requirement.
Look at your car. What do you mean? You didn't even have 3 cars. What you talking about? Look at your car. This shit's ass.
Is that you have to have a property under your name, and you have to be looking into getting your second property. You have to get a home that has 6 rooms because each of my kids have to be in their own room. So you have to be considerate. Purchase a house that has 6 rooms because that's only common sense. And if you cannot meet those requirements, then you're not the fucking one. The last requirement is that it has to be pink. If it's not pink, no.
Their support has meant everything, and for them to pull that support, it's like a gut punch of what's happened in Washington, D.C. and the federal government and the tone towards LGBTQ people. I think some corporations have decided that's too big a risk to be a supporter of an organization like San Francisco Pride.
This is a time where we need people to be brave. This is a time where we have to stand up to the bullies, and we have to show our community, especially those that are most vulnerable amongst us, that we have their backs. Pride is something that gives us the opportunity to celebrate who we are, and it also, for many people, is a really healing event.
What we did last night, some breaking news, we pulled all non-essential funding from the Department of Corrections in Maine because they were allowing a man in a woman's prison, a giant 6'1", 245-pound guy who committed a double murder with a knife, stabbed his parents to death and the family dog, and he identified as a woman. So they were letting him be housed in a female prison. No longer. We will pull your funding. We will protect women in prison. We will protect women in sports. We will protect women throughout this country. No more of that.
Breaking, fuck the news. General Motors has announced that they will be laying off 200 employees at their electric car factory in Detroit. Sure, bringing them jobs back to America. I mean, let me not be biased. Breaking news. Donald Trump says that he will grant reprieve of deportation for the immigrants that work on hotels, farms, and other places, in places they are needed. Yeah. Basically, he said these corporations whose entire empire are built off the backs of illegal immigrants that get paid pennies on the dollar, we'll let them stay. Yeah, bro, that's... that was live. That came out of his mouth. That wasn't like a typed out, no, that was live footage.
Went into effect, sending the futures board back in the red this morning.
Michelle is at the live desk right now, tracking new fallout overnight and what it means for your money. Hey, Michelle.
Well, hey, guys, our team's been watching these very numbers overnight, and they've been really all over the place. So for now, you can see the futures, they're all down. Wall Street is set to open lower. While you were sleeping, China went through its vow to raise tariffs on U.S. products from 34% to 84%. And China is the exception to the temporary relief President Trump now promises to dozens of countries. In fact, he's hitting China with even higher tariffs at 125%, effective immediately, per the White House. For all the other countries that did not retaliate, Trump said yesterday he'll pause higher tariff rates for 90 days, but he'll keep the 10% baseline tariff. Markets reacted just moments after Trump announced all this. Within minutes, the Dow jumped more than 6% and led up to one of Wall Street's biggest single-day spikes ever.
This is a big win for Trump, and it's a big win for America.
This chaos seems to be just a game for Donald Trump, but it is really real, very real, for people's lives, people's livelihoods.
They will be fair deals for everybody.
U.S. went into effect, sending the futures board back in the red this morning.
Michelle is at the live desk right now.
I woke up and all our orders were gone. Because of these new tariffs from the U.S., every American client is telling us to pause production and delay our plans. This is a mess.
There's a video showing how bad things have gotten. It's like the sky has fallen. Orders were canceled because of the U.S. tariffs. Warehouses are packed with unsold products, and the factory floor is basically just being cleaned now, with no real work happening. Ever since Trump raised tariffs, businesses in mainland China have been feeling the chill. Even though CCP General Secretary Xi Jinping talks tough about retaliating against Trump's tariffs, the truth is the Chinese government doesn't care about how much regular people are losing, and hitting back will only bring even harsher responses. America, as the buyer, is the one setting the rules. If the seller tries to challenge them, they'll lose badly, ending up with nothing. On April 8th, U.S. President Trump officially signed an executive order to raise tariffs on Chinese goods to 104%.
They will be going into effect at 12:01 a.m. tonight, so effectively tomorrow, yes.
That 104% rate is now in effect. China has vowed to fight to the end in this trade war, but the real tariff rate is even higher because this 104% is on top of the 20% already in place from Trump's first term. That means the average tariff on Chinese goods is now close to 125%. One man in China posted a video calling on the Chinese people and the government to stay clear-headed. With tariffs going up like this, he advised they shouldn't go head-to-head with the U.S. Otherwise, they'd be gambling with people's livelihoods.
These past couple days, I've had enough. Stop talking about fighting the U.S. over tariffs like it's some action movie. Acting tough is a dead end. Making money is what actually matters. The US has 350 million people and takes up a third of global consumer orders. Think about that. Out of every $3 spent around the world, one comes from the US. The EU has 450 million people, but their purchasing power is nowhere close to America's. We've got 1.4 billion people in China working ourselves to the bone, but our spending power is only about 1/5 of America's. The numbers don't lie. Cursing the US for being a bully doesn't put food on the table. The US dollar is still the passport to the global market. Everyone's shouting about how we don't need the American market. Wake up. The American market is valuable. Numbers speak louder than slogans. Instead of shouting about resistance, we should be thinking about how to make money within the existing rules. When your wallet is full of US dollars, then you can talk about upgrading industries or ditching the dollar. Until then, it's all just talk. Lower your head, make money. It's not shameful.
So Russia was blessed over Moscow with a spinning drone or UFO type object that seems to be being engaged by the military, and the rounds seem to be not really having much effect on what this object is. I mean, you can see something spinning. There's a light at the back. There's no noise associated with this other than the crackling of the machine gun fire. And if we listen closely now, you can't hear it. It circles back, and they kind of give up. And this was seen on another perspective as well, where there's quite a few different perspectives of this object, and it's just equally as weird. So I'm not sure what to think. Again, very strange. And the fact that it's being engaged and having no effect, very strange once again. All right? I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. Russia, get a grip, bruv. What is going on? Jeez.
The trade fight between the U.S. and China now extends to the U.S. Postal Service, which announced last night that it will not accept any packages mailed from China and Hong Kong. The decision is part of a dispute that has led each country to impose new tariffs on one another. Anna Corrin now reports on the immediate impact.
At the headquarters of Hong Kong Post, a sense of confusion from customers.
I was trying to send my package to the US, and now I have to find another route, so I don't really know what's going on. Hopefully it will get fixed or sorted soon.
What did they say to you?
They just said it's suspended.
In a surprise announcement, the US Postal Service said it was suspending all packages from Hong Kong and China. It comes as part of President Trump's decision to enforce new tariffs on China. He has also scrapped the so-called de minimis exemption, a trade loophole that allowed packages valued at less than $800 to be duty-free from China. For years, US Customs and Border Patrol have raised concerns over the increasing volume of packages that go unchecked. Trump has seized on that, claiming this is one of the ways that fentanyl gets into the country. And China's refusal to stem the flow of fentanyl, according to the president, is the reason for the 10% tariffs.
I think you need some reason to start that kind of a negotiating and dialogue.
Dr. Henry Wang, advisor to the Chinese government, describes the blanket tariffs as unnecessary and claims Beijing's retaliatory tariffs are limited by comparison. But he believes the fact Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping are due to speak is a promising sign. You're hopeful for a positive result?
Yes, I'm very hopeful that after the meeting there will be some positive outcome.
Similar to Mexico and Canada?
Well, I don't know if it goes to that far, but always when you have a meeting like that, particularly at this high level.
Now, Dr. Wang told me that the Chinese government wants substantive talks to begin so they can start negotiating a trade deal. But the White House, earlier this week said that call would happen within 24 hours. Well, last night, President Trump said that he was in no rush to speak to President Xi.
Well, Trump's tariffs has officially caused the Chinese yuan to lose value, falling to its weakest level since 2007. I'm going to dumb it down so you guys can understand. You can look at this, but I'm going to give you the best dumbed down thing you ever heard. Let's say you're selling candy in school, right? Your candy is $5. Let's say the teacher, who is Trump, adds taxes on your candy, making it way more expensive, so people don't want to buy from you no more. Now you're not making no money. So in an attempt to make some money, you lower the price of your candy so that whatever taxes the teacher put on you, it balances out. Problem is, you back making a profit, but it's less than what you originally were making. So because the return isn't great, and then you never know, your teacher being Trump might hit you with even more. So now investors are pulling out saying that, nah, the profit ain't good enough. So now you basically got to either give in or continue to allow your money to depreciate in order to fight back on the taxes. Now, dumbed down explanation aside, this affects Chinese citizens as well because now their things in China are going to be more expensive, like gas, iPhones, etc., due to their currency now being worth less. That's the best dumbed down explanation I can give. I know some of you guys are going to complain. If you feel like you can explain it better than me, please comment it. Please correct me, whatever you want. What do you guys think about this, though? Is Trump wrong for this?
Alive. Thank you, Kadosh Baruch Hu, for my kids and Isaac Ash's kids. Thank you, Hashem, for saving us because it's absolutely a miracle that we're alive. It's absolutely a miracle.
Girl, China said, fuck them tariffs. They are offering 13% cash back on any purchases from American citizens. And not only that, they're going to give you 280 hours of visa-free entry into China to go shopping. No paperwork, nothing to do, no visa needed. You can just go to China and buy whatever it is you want. They said if America wants to try to keep American citizens from buying foreign goods, good luck. Because not only can you come here and buy the same shirt that you would buy in America for $40 and buy it there for $21, they also took away all prosecutions from fake brands. So they used to prosecute retailers who were making knockoff brands. They said, not anymore, honey. You can come buy all you want. They're not prosecuting any of their citizens for making knockoff brands like Nike, Versace, Gucci, none of that shit. And now they're going to give you 280 hours travel free to come on over there and buy whatever it is you want with a 13% instant cash rebate. I think y'all fucked around with the wrong one, man. I can't even hold you.
Europeans didn't inherit history. They burned it. Not out of ignorance, but because they knew the truth would void the receipts. The truth would collapse the entire storyline. So they rewrote the narrative in powdered wigs, hiding genocides under Latin and renaming every theft as discovery. This wasn't documentation. It was branding. Europeans didn't study other civilizations. They studied how to erase them and still pass the test. The moment they touched a library, it caught fire. Egypt, the Rosetta Stone was looted. The nose of the Sphinx was blown off. They stood over the ruins and declared Africa illiterate. India, Nalanda, one of the world's oldest universities, torched. 9 million manuscripts vanished. Then they published textbooks claiming Europe invented math. Mesoamerica, over 5,000 Maya codices burned in church bonfires, called satanic, and then centuries later, copied for European astronomy. Mali, Timbuktu had more written texts than all of medieval Europe, and France buried them in sand until African scholars smuggled them out in the dark to preserve their own knowledge from European archivists. This isn't history. This is a global arson scene, and the suspects kept the ashes. They didn't just erase, they rebranded. Algebra becomes Western math. Optics becomes Galileo's dream. Surgery, astronomy, navigation, pulled from Arabic, African, and Asian sources, stripped of origin, and resold in powdered French as the Enlightenment. They erased the Ethiopian roots of early Christianity, the Nubian queens who governed astronomical calendars, the zero-based logic of India, the land stewardship of the Haudenosaunee, the feminist inheritance of the Ibwa, and replaced it all with a montage of pale men thinking in cellars. They didn't progress. They plagiarized and pretended to be the source. The Renaissance wasn't a rebirth, it was a break-in. While Europe was still exercising women for having dreams, the Islamic world had hospitals, legal scholarship, chemistry labs, and academic peer review. And when Europe finally woke up, it did so by translating Arabic texts that had already preserved Greek, Indian, Persian, and African thought. Ibn Sina becomes a father of medicine with a Latin name. Ibn al-Haytham becomes a precursor to optics, even though his work predates Descartes by half a millennium. This wasn't a rediscovery. It was relay theft, with the baton of knowledge passed through fire, and then whitewashed mid-sprint. Even their map slide, the Mercator projection, stretches Europe, shrinks Africa, and centers the world around imperial delusion. The Middle East is only middle if Europe is the sun. Western civilization includes Australia and Canada, but not Ethiopia and Mexico, even though they had alphabets before Greek even existed. They called Africa tribal and forgot Europe was governed by inbred warlords in muddy castles with no plumbing. They called Haiti violent and named cities after Napoleon. They called indigenous science myth and European mythology canon. They stole bronze from Benin, called it art preservation, and then locked it behind glass and slapped a plaque on it that says gift. Stolen artifacts were labeled generous. Massacres were called missions. Human trafficking was called trade. This isn't historical confusion. It's weaponized curriculum. The lies are maintenance. The truth would collapse the floorboards. Because if the world industrialized slavery and called itself abolitionist, if they knew that democratic indigenous governments were destroyed to install monarchies and puppet regimes, if they knew that Europe's civilizing missions involved famine, sterilization, language erasure, museum theft, and state-engineered extinction campaigns, then there would be nothing left to claim. No moral ground, no myth of progress, just receipts written in blood and buried under their museums. This is why their timelines start with Plato and end with Churchill. Why every world history class skips from Greece to Galileo like nothing of value happened in those 2,000 years between, unless it was white and male and drawing triangles. Europe didn't document history. It hunted it and locked it in glass. It renamed it. And when we speak the truth out loud, we get banned from TikTok. But this isn't revision. This is restoration. We're not studying Europe. We're surviving its edits. Cope.
I came in to ask you if I could buy a Bible. You said to me you don't sell it because it was discriminatory. Is that right?
No, I said we don't sell it because they don't discriminate. The Red Cross, they cover over it.
Because I'm a little concerned with what's going on in Europe. I've been seeing so many videos from Instagram about migrants who have just flooded their borders, and people are being evicted out of their homes only to be replaced by migrants. And when I mean people have had homes for generations that got passed from like their grandfather or their great-grandfather, and they're being kicked out to let in these absolute strangers, and they're feeling so depressed. It's an awful time to be living in England or France, and I'm just wondering, is there any hope for Europe, or is it slowly becoming an Islamist state, or is there any way they can revive Christianity? I want to believe that there's hope, but I'm just not sure right now. If you can feature this, I'd be much appreciated. Thank you.
Well, there you are. Absolutely. What a great question. So let's, again, we need to apply the Stockdale principle, named after Admiral James Stockdale, who was the longest serving, if I recall, highest ranking, longest serving naval officer in a Vietnam prison of war camp. And he said the way you survive adverse situations is you have an absolutely realistic, sober assessment of what's happening, regardless of how serious it is. You've got to make sure you face the reality of it, no matter how dire your situation. And at the same time, you can never, ever lose hope that you'll prevail. If you have those two things together, you can get through pretty much anything in life. So let's look at the dire nature of it. And you described it very, very well. Outside of countries like Hungary,
because I'm a little concerned with what's going on in Europe. I've
been forced out of their house by squatters and the like. Now, that said, the good news is that Christianity is making a comeback in Europe, and I'm not talking about simply pietistic Christianity, although that is happening. Lestadian Lutherans, they have a 4-to-1 demographic advantage over secular Finns. They're in Finland. Orthodox Calvinists in the Netherlands have a 2-to-1 fertility advantage over secular Dutch. So there is a sense where the conservative Catholics, conservative Protestants, conservative Orthodox in Eastern Europe are more or less just through reproduction, through their fertility advantage, they are changing slowly the complexion of Europe. But it's also Christianity really at the state level, where even the most secular countries like Sweden, Netherlands, France, you have their leaders openly talking about how we need to re-embrace and reappreciate Christianity, or else our civilization is going to disappear. So this isn't so much about an internal, pietistic faith. This is about a public faith, the faith that gave us cathedrals, the faith that gave us things like the Magna Carta and all kinds of political and cultural amazing developments, that gave us great literature and art and architecture and music and poetry, an amazing education system, an amazing healthcare system. This all came out of Christian civilization. People like Geert Wilders of the Netherlands, people like Marine Le Pen of France are all arguing that unless we self-consciously re-embrace our Christian traditions, we are going to be overrun by another religion, because secularism just can't do it. Even Richard Dawkins, the avowed atheist, he lamented the loss of what he called Christian, been forced out of their house by squatters and the like. Now, that said, the good news is that Christianity...
I just got off the phone with a White House official, and they need to clarify that the new effective tariff rate against China, effective today, is actually 145%, not 125% as they told us yesterday. This is not a new shift. This is based, I want to make clear, on a close reading of the executive order. I have it here. When they amended their executive order yesterday, they changed the rate, the reciprocal rate, so-called, from 84% to 125%. But that comes on top of the fentanyl rate that was already in place this term of 20% against China. So a White House official confirmed to me it is correct to add those numbers together, making the new rate that President Trump has added in tariffs against China so far this term to 145%. A big jump there from where we thought we were even yesterday and the start of the week as well. These numbers just keep increasing. And as you guys know, you do have to add that 145% to any tariffs that were already in place before President Trump took office this term. That's the Section 301 tariffs from his first term, as well as anything else that was already in place at baseline. But now the new rate, when you add all these figures together, for this term that they've added against China is 145% on Chinese imports. I just got off the phone with a White House official, and I need to clarify